Stress is everywhere, and it's really not going away. And you and I, we invest so much of our energy when we try to control, contain, deny, avoid situations that are demanding, filled with pressure. What if we've learned to focus on the wrong thing? What if we could thrive in the face of that pressure and demand? Seriously, all of us get stressed. We just do. Now, one thing that provokes stress in many people is a spider. And we get all wigged out about spiders without really knowing much about them. Some of us get stressed by plastic spiders, and this was true of my younger brother, Chuck. So I take you back to young Chuck's childhood and the terror incident. The when was just before his bedtime, and the where was in his bedroom, more specifically on his pillow, and then I waited. Moments later, the eruption happened. Yes, young Chuck, he got stressed by the plastic spider. And out of the bedroom, he ran and into my mother's arms. And they, perhaps like you, my mom and Chuck, they got all hung up in the detail of the who, the what, the when, and the where. Chuck, he focused on the what, the plastic spider. And of course, my mom focused on the who, me. Go figure. And both of them, in doing this, I believe, lost focus. They lost focus on what propelled me to torment my younger brother with a plastic spider. I'll call that my why. Interesting, they lost focus also on my younger brother's why. What prompted this explosion due to a piece of plastic? And on my mom's why, I'll get to that in a little bit. You see, when we invest so much energy in managing the details, we often make misinterpretations. And you and I, we do this all the time. Now, as I reflect back, I realize my why has always been connected to an intent desire to best understand what motivates other people to take action. If you think about it, this may have played a role in my tormenting my younger brother, but it also led me to earn a PhD in clinical psychology, as well as to develop a training on stress, the framework I'm sharing with you in this TED Talk. Seriously, there's an author, a man named Joseph Campbell, who wrote a common template. It's a storyline that involves a hero who goes on a journey, overcomes a crisis or two, wins a victory, and as a result is changed and transformed. This hero's journey story arc is used in famous movies like The Matrix and the Disney favorite, The Lion King. This picture is just an image of probably a movie that was George Lucas's best example of the hero's journey. Luke Skywalker leaves the safety of his aunt and uncle's home on his trek to battle the Death Star. Now, Luke received an initial call. First, it was from Princess Leia, but I believe his call was connected to his why, the love he had for his aunt and uncle. This propelled him on his hero's journey. What might happen if you shifted your focus from the distraction of the who, the what, the when, and the where, and you identified what your why is, that thing that could propel you, that could motivate you into action? There's an author, a man named Simon Sinek, who wrote the book Start With Why. He once said, working hard for things that we don't care about is called stress. Working hard for things that we love is called passion. Let me say that again. Working hard for things that we don't care about. We're driven with a reactive desire to stage manage our attempt to direct our way through stressful stuff. We're all caught up in the who and the what and the when and the where. Well, this is just a recipe for stress. Working hard for things that we love, when we're clear about our why, this is when we become inspired. This is when we become motivated. And I believe when we're operating here, this is when we live in passion. There's a neuroscientist, a man named Bruce McEwen. And Bruce McEwen suggests that your brain is your central organ of stress. You see, your brain interprets what's happening, real or imagined, and then initiates a behavioral and physiological response. You may do the fight or flight or freeze thing. You might even feel your palms sweat, mine are, or you may even hear the beat of your heart in your ears. McEwen also suggests that our response can be adaptive, helpful, or damaging. Screaming at the computer screen when the battery goes dead is really not an adaptive response. However, at times we surprise ourselves with our natural ability to thrive, even in the face of pressure and demand. And I tell you, when this happens, it's like magic. So let's look at this issue of stress from the perspective of an infant, an adult, Luke Skywalker, and then a little bit about stress. An infant has a want or a need of a bottle. Now, infants typically don't use their words, but the infant has a clear idea on what they want, the bottle. And if the infant begins to stress, they may demonstrate this through their tears. As an adult, you're driving on the highway, and you see the whir of police car lights in your rearview mirror. You also may not use your words, but you have a clear expectation on what you want. You want that police officer to saddle up behind someone else's car. See, you and I are not that different as adults than children. We react to the police car much like the infant does to the baby bottle. Different when we respond from our why. And if you think about the Luke Skywalker character in the Star Wars movie, his why propelled him into action. His why, I believe, was to avenge the untimely death of his aunt and uncle, which gave him the courage to battle the Empire. I wonder what might happen in your life. My daughter Emily with your music. My friend Dan in your writing. If you were clear about your why, are you even aware of what your why is? Now, it can feel as though we go from a place of okay to stressed out. One follows the other as night follows day. If we pay attention to, though, there's a space, there's a moment between this okay and stressed out. And if we get hung up on the who, the what, the when, and the where, well, this is when we get all stressed out. However, if we get clear on our why, on your why, you have an ability, if you grasp it, to live courageous, inspired, and alive. So let me conclude this TED Talk with a story of my mom and stepdad. Last summer, my stepdad, in June, shot his age in golf. At 86, he shot an 82 on 18 holes. This is remarkable for any 86-year-old, let alone a man living with chronic leukemia. About a week or so after this round of golf, he was hospitalized again. And the doctor shared with my stepfather, your leukemia has progressed, it's gotten worse. It's now in an acute stage. This meant he had weeks, maybe days to live. So my mom and he decided that his final days, they would be spent at home surrounded by his family and his friends. After his adjustment at home, my mother made sure that the hospice nurse was on task. She made sure that my stepfather's friends and family had their opportunities to say their final goodbyes. In fact, she had one of his best friends do so by Skype. Her mind was filled with thoughts and emotions from their 31 years of marriage. I take you to the late afternoon private moment between my mom and my stepfather. And he said to my mom, "Mary Ann, I just want to die." Hearing this, she left him. I don't think physically, but emotionally. Can you imagine? And what's amazing is she then stood up and left him. She walked out of the room. She left him. Now here's the amazing thing, is she returned a few minutes later with a bowl of Grater's chocolate chip ice cream. She mustered a smile to her face, and she said to my stepfather, "If you're going to die, you might as well die after having a good meal." You see, my mom lived in that moment from her why. She wasn't caught up in the who, the what, the when, and the where, but she wanted to show love to her husband. She wanted his final meal to be one she knew he'd enjoy. You see, my mom lived her hero's journey in that moment. And in her want, her need to show care. And if you think about it, this was likely what propelled her into action with my younger brother and the plastic spider. So for you in the audience, you students and you business professionals, what might happen if you lost your distraction with the who and the what and the when and the where? You lost your desire to control, contain, deny, avoid those things, and you were aware of your why. It's for this reason that I believe it's the why of stress that's important. Thank you.